According to the Moscow Komsomolets report, at the hearing of the Appropriations Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives, Celeste Wallander, the Assistant Secretary of the Pentagon for International Security Affairs, said, although Kiev officials are now having difficulty fully paying for weapons, they're getting some funding and should have some ability to pay. According to the Moscow Komsomolets, this is the U.S. Department of Defense pressuring Ukraine to start paying for the supply of arms and paying for the weapons aided by the U.S. military. How much is this money? According to the data reported by the U.S. Capitol Hill website, the amount of U.S. military aid to Ukraine reached about US $77.5 billion, of which US $29.3 billion was direct military assistance, and US $45 billion was additional emergency assistance. The Ukrainian Ministry of Economy predicts that its GDP will drop by 30%, which is only about $139.2 billion US. Although on paper, Ukraine's funds are sufficient to repay US military aid, they still owe money to Europe, and the overall debt scale has reached $107.46 billion US, and at least $700 billion US may be needed for post-war reconstruction. Obviously, it is impossible for Ukraine to pay for US military aid in full in a short period of time. Of course, this is just one side of Russia's statement now, and the United States has not yet responded to this statement. After all, the Lend-Lease Act is there, and the United States has long made it clear that this is not free aid. The United States is not afraid of Ukraine's debts. As long as Ukraine is still there, the United States will definitely be able to get back the arrears. If you can't afford it in a short time, you can give it slowly. Just like Russia only paid off the money owed to the United States by the Soviet Union during World War II in 2006, if you don't have money to pay back, you can use resources to offset the debt. For example, before the U.S. Newsweek, it implies that the United States may consider controlling titanium deposits in eastern Ukraine. Therefore, U.S. Deputy Defense Secretary Colin Carr also said bluntly at the same hearing that the Pentagon does not know the trajectory of this conflict. It may last for another 6 months, or it may last for another 2 or 3 years. Hope Congress approves funding for military aid to Ukraine. After all, as long as Ukraine is still there, this deal will not lose money, and the longer the fight, the higher the benefits for the United States. Zelensky, who should have been thinking about Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, still insisted that he would not have peace talks with Putin, and even rejected the private proposal of peace talks proposed by French President Macron and German Chancellor Scholz. Thinking about it, for him, the longer this conflict lasts, the better. Some pictures posted on the internet once showed that since the Russian-Ukrainian conflict broke out a year ago, the wealth of Zelensky and his friends has at least doubled. Now that the United States is planning to ask Ukraine for money, Zelensky will naturally not pay out of his own pocket, and these astronomical debts will only be spread equally to every Ukrainian citizen. Their house was blown up during the conflict, their relatives were sent to the battlefield by Zelensky, and they had to bear huge debts. I wonder if they will regret choosing Zelensky to become the supreme leader of this country. Finally, do you agree with the point of this video? Welcome to leave a message in the comment area.